My son is 11 years old.
Right.
And it is week 6 of school. And
Okay.
he's basically telling me that it's hard for him to make friends.
Why?
His exact words were 95% of the kids at school, or the boys at school, are YNs. He said, and the other 5% that are nerds, most of them are rude. So if y'all are in my area, please talk to your kids. Because for an 11-year-old to come home and tell me that most of your kids are YNs is crazy. He's in 6th grade.
All right. So we have a mother here who says that she has a son in 6th grade who can't make friends because he says most of the other guys at school, his age, the young boys, are YNs. Now, when the YN conversation comes up, and I see it all the time, you have older women who say, yeah, I give these YNs a chance. They shoot their shot. I date them. There are whole hashtags over there on YNs. But there are people who hear this type of like internet terminology and don't know what anybody's talking about. And I think it's always important to make a definition concrete depending on how you're using it. So what is a YN in the context if she's using it? Here you go.
I don't know what rock y'all living under, but a YN is not a young black man. A YN is a young hood dude. So a YN could be white, black, Mexican, Asian, Puerto Rican. A YN could be an Indian. It's a young hood dude, a young dude from the hood. That's with it.
There you go. That's the version of YN she's talking about. Because I've seen people just call a young black dude YN. I've definitely seen that, But I understand if you've been online long enough, people use it and they'll use it comically and they're joking. In this context, she's talking about a YN that's with it.
With all of them activities, you know what I'm talking about? I'm not talking about the young dudes from the hood that's raised right. We talking about the young dudes from the hood, in the streets, doing the hood. You know what I'm talking about. So please get from under my post talking about, oh, I look at all black boys as YNs. No, I don't. I look at young hood dudes as YNs. I live in the suburbs. We got white YNs.
All right. So now that she's cleared up the definition of the young boys, the YNs she's talking about, what do you think now? She's saying these young dudes are with the shit. So chances are, based on what she's saying, they aren't the type of young boys who obviously she or her son wants to associate with or wants to do what they like to get into. For a young man to actually admit this, I think is healthy. He's able to recognize that, hey, that there is not who I want to associate with or become as a young black man. Let's check out some of these comments, see what the people have to say. Top comment here says, being a YN is popular. The question is, why? Why? Right? Who is convincing the YNs that being a YN is popular? Somebody responded back and says, it's dumb. This is the actual creator, the mother. Do they have fathers in their lives to tell them that, hey, this is not the direction that you want to go in? My advice to this mother, probably a single mom, would be to find a local church. And this is why, and a lot of people don't know this is why churches were very important. At church, you would know that regardless of what's happening at home or around you, church was a place where they would reinstill values, positive values, and you have a community of people who want to do better with their lives, right? It's easy to just think, oh, find a different school. Some people can't afford the luxury to just move to a different school district and find a different school. But this is why churches are important. You don't have to agree with every single thing that you get from there, but at least you have a community of parents who have kids who they're trying to keep in a healthy environment. That would be my advice here in this situation. What would you guys advise?
I just had to block so many people for basically trying to say my son is in the wrong for calling y'all kids YN. If it walks like a duck, quack like a duck, it's a duck. Don't be mad at me for my son using the word YN. It's YN. And the fact that y'all talking about he shouldn't be calling nobody YN, this is what they're calling themselves. Had they not called themselves that, he probably would have never knew what YN was. When I say my son is a kid, he's a kid. He loves to play with Legos, plushies. He still plays with his toys. He rides his bike outside. He likes to play. We don't listen to rap music. We don't listen to hood music. You can show him any rapper, he wouldn't even know who it is. Like, realistically. So before y'all decide to make it seem like it's my fault that my kid is calling y'all kids out for being YNs, check y'all kids, bro. Like, I'm genuinely confused where we're going with this.
The Coffee Pot is backed by fathershaverights.com. the ultimate prenup prep guide for men who value marriage in our modern day. Future husbands, the divorce industry makes billions when men walk into a lawyer's office unprepared. Don't let the system profit from your ignorance. My step-by-step guide at fathershaverights.com, created with expert attorneys James Sexton and the lead attorney, hands you the questions, checklists, and strategy to walk in 10 steps ahead. And it costs only a couple of dinner dates. Click the link pinned to the top of the comment section, secure your future, and join the hundreds of men preparing their marriages the right way. Somebody else who says, between the YN being so lame and the nerds being so condescending, it's not easy to just have an easy day. I think that's it. Somebody else who says, I work with middle school students. Most of them are rude and disrespectful of authority figures. We've heard a lot of that from teachers. She goes on to say, I have some students who are godsends, but I can tell when the parents act up, it affects them, which makes me sad. Why should they have to witness other students' bad behavior? Trust me, I bet someone, faulty or staff, is telling your son not to change and be patient for the right friends. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And you know, because people don't want to hurt feelings, they want to pretend like none of this doesn't happen, right? That when you go to a school, you won't see that there are children who are toxic, don't respect authority, and are headed in the wrong direction in life. And if her as a mother can recognize this, that's a win for her son. Even more, his son can recognize that. That's a win for the son as well. Somebody else who says, another reason why parents are considering homeschooling. I've seen this so much. So many people are considering homeschooling now. It's getting crazy. And how can you blame them? I mean, you have the non-binary teacher chick who was featured on the Coffee Pod last time. I get it. I honestly get it, man. There's so much craziness, so much sensitivity, so much toxicity, so much backwards thinking. And then you think of universities brainwashing people. It's nuts out here. Here's somebody else who says, I explained to my son, these are your future coworkers and employees. You must learn how to navigate this society. Short version. Here's somebody else who responded, this one. Yeah, I don't know. Depending on how bad the environment is, I would hope not. Right? I would hope those aren't their future coworkers and employees. Here's somebody else who says, ask your kids if they know who King Von is. You'd be surprised. Here's somebody else who says, homeschool and find an external social group with like-minded people. Yeah, like I said, I think that's why church is important. Here's somebody else who says, my son is a gamer. He found him about 2 and been holding them close for years. Another person who says, girl, my son is in the 7th grade. And this is a fact, and they are rude, and I'm in New York. You know, part of the reason I think a father is so important in someone's life is you grow up thinking your father is cool, right? At least I did. And I think a lot of young men grow up thinking their father is cool when they have him in their life. You know, you think your dad is cool. And what does that do? It gives you a different definition of what cool is. So when you see other people who are doing stuff that your dad would call foolish or stupid, you start to change your definition. You're not so easily peer pressured and swayed into making bad decisions. And I've seen plenty of videos, a lot of videos actually, talking about just how crazy a lot of the schools are. And I honestly believe that AI will fix a lot of like the homeschooling worries. And I could imagine in the future there will be robots that can help out with homeschooling and such. I don't think people are prepared for what the future holds. But yeah, I hope her son finds friends who are positive influence in his life. Do not give up, young man.
Here are some facts about homeschooling. If you are conflicted and don't know if you want to homeschool, or if you are smart enough to homeschool, or if you're prepared enough, or if you have enough time to homeschool, I'm going to give you what I know, and I hope you can take something from it. So when you decide that you want to homeschool and that's the route that you want to go, the first thing you should do is Google. You should Google the state laws and the requirements to homeschool in your state, because each state that will look different. So what I say about my state is going to be different than what your state requires. So you always have to make sure that you specifically look for your state and you get the information that way. Also, joining Facebook groups that is dedicated to your state's laws. Like for me, I'm in Washington State, so I follow a group on Facebook that is the Washington Homeschool Organization, and it pretty much tells me everything that I need to know about the laws in this state, of everything that is required, and they are very informative. They always have all the up-to-date things, and they are very passionate. The lady who runs it is very passionate about homeschooling and what it means, you know, for our people. And yes, so start with that. Go to Facebook, join groups of people who homeschool, so you can kind of get used to the conversation around it and understand that it's not as intimidating when you actually are inside. You know, from the outside, it's like, what? That is such a, like, I don't know, like a bizarre thing. Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Homeschooling? That seems so, like, insane. But it's not. You just have to put yourself around like-minded people, and then you'll start to understand that, it's scary as shit, but it's not that mind-blowing. So after you look up your state laws and you understand what is required, then you can move on to what type of homeschooling parent, educator you want to be. Do you want to let your children be more like free in their learning? Do you want them to have more structure? Do you want them to only go after things that they are specifically interested in? Do you want to split that up and do what they're interested in and then what you're interested in and then try to combine that? Do you want to just do learning centered around playing in everyday life for now, especially when you have young children? Do you want to have a curriculum? A lot of people think that you have to have like a set curriculum. And once again, look at your state laws. In Washington State, you do not have to have a specific curriculum. There are people who are called unschoolers, or they do child-led learning, where they have not touched a curriculum, or they did touch a curriculum when they first started, and then now they don't even work from a curriculum. And people think that like there's like a homeschooling police that are just going to come knocking at your door, like, show me the information. What is your child doing? And legally, you want to make sure that you are doing what is required. But I think a lot of people believe that there is someone that's going to come popping up at your door if you're not doing things the way a school is doing it, or doing things the way other people are doing it. You can pick if you want your child to have a curriculum or you want it to be more of like a child-led type of curriculum or interaction or whatever. It's all up to the parent on what they want to do. And it does not look the same for every household. You're going to homeschool your children exactly how you want to homeschool them based off of who they are, who you are, and what works for your family. So say you have a 3-year-old or 4-year-old and you are like, I want to homeschool, and then you're like, okay, what curriculum do I have to have? And then you start buying $60 and $90 curriculums. You don't want to do that because you don't know what type of learning style your child is going to have until you start putting things in front of them. And you don't want to pay 60 or 90 bucks unless you got it to pay. You want to be printing off worksheets. You know, you can print off worksheets from Google. You can type in, what should my child be learning at this age? And then you can kind of make that a basis for what you want to try to give them, what you want to try to show them. But then you also have to understand that the joys of homeschooling is there's no one standing over you telling you that by 5th grade, your child has to know how to do this. By 5 years old, they have to know how to read their alphabets. And that's what unlearning is about. That's what deschooling is about, is knowing that it doesn't have to look like what the government told a school should have to look like. It can look like what we feel in our hearts, our intuition, and what we believe our children should learn, and then also following the laws of our state. Okay, so I don't want this video to be long, so I'm going to make a part 2 to this video. If you like this video, then of course save it so you can come back to it. And yeah, if you are homeschooling and you're thinking about doing it and you're not sure, I promise you, I have not really got too deep into it because my children are so young and technically I don't have to start yet. But man, the information that I've gained just from being around people like in Facebook groups who are doing it, it has taken a load off my back. So I'm horrified, but I'm not like super horrified. You know what I mean? Like it's like a difference. So yeah, save this video, comment if you have any questions, and I'm going to come back with a part 2. Boom. Bada ba-zang.
Hey guys, as always, I appreciate you checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Pod. To my currently engaged or soon to be married men. If you need a prenup and would like a guide that shows you how to get a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement, hit the link pinned to the top of the comment section and access your guide at fathershaverights.com today.